Palworld is being accused by many people on the internet saying that the game is using AI and that has upset many people, and so much misinformation has been spread around because of that many people are no longer either going to be playing the game or are trying to get refunds in some way. I have come out of the woodwork here to talk about how that's not true. It's not made with AI. There are many different things that support that it is not made from AI, and I'm going to be going over each individual one that I have found thus far. The biggest one for me is that if you put a game on Steam, you are required to disclose whether or not the game used AI at all. If you do not disclose that and it has been found out later that you used AI, your game will be removed from Steam, or you will have to continue disclosing it, and people can even then offer or request refunds because they were not adequately informed. But since they do not disclose that they used AI on the Steam page, that is one of the biggest supporting things that didn't use AI. Now, I am someone who has been following the game for a very, very long time. There is many other things that I can point to. I followed the game since it was initially announced in 2021 of June. So that is 2.5 years ago when the very first trailer for Palworld came out. And there is a lot of stuff in that Palworld trailer that you can look at that shows, wow, it looks like most of these things were in the game beforehand. And you might say, well, that's not enough. What do you mean in the game beforehand? How do you know these things? It could still have been generated by AI beforehand. No, not really. AI tools didn't really start taking off until maybe the end of 2021 or the beginning of 2022. And they weren't really widely available or as strong as they are today in 2023 and now going into 2024. There is a timeline for how AI has developed and how it has gotten better over the years. And in the middle of 2021, it was not non-existent, but for the practical uses for the game and or art or things like that was relatively low. Not a lot of people knew about it. So in the Palworld 2021 trailer, here it is. Let's go ahead and give it a play. You can see in the game the pals that they have already made, the bird pals, the bigger ones, the hawks you can ride, the wolves. This wolf is one of the few things that are constantly compared to other wolves that have existed in Pokemon games. Why it stopped loading. But you have the Pippola type mobs here, and you can see in this trailer that there's actually a lot of stuff that has changed about the game, because in here it shows you like put down a building and then all you guys came together and built it, when in reality building in the game now is a lot closer to Arc style, or basically exactly how you build stuff in Arc. And so there's a lot, different, like building in general is just much different than it used to be. But you can see many different pals throughout this trailer, and the things that they do and combinations and the stuff that existed 2.5 years ago before the strength of AI tools really got to where it was today. As someone who has followed this since 2021, I knew, I was like, these people who have started to come out and say like, oh, well, it's using AI and all this other stuff, it's all over Twitter. And of course, Twitter is probably one of the biggest places of misinformation out there. But there's just so many people getting wrapped up into these conversations on Twitter and only really looking at one side of the evidence or one side of the coin and seeing, oh wow, there's all this talk about AI in Palworld, and the CEO talks about how he likes AI, and they made a game one time in 2022 that it was to find the AI imposter inside their game. So they used AI to create an AI imposter, and you had to figure out who that imposter was, which I actually think is pretty cool. But it did use AI. But Palworld did not use AI, because Palworld has been in development for a very long time before AI tools became to what they are today, like I said earlier. And so many people have been getting wrapped up in this. People who I have followed for a really long time, creators who I follow for a long time, people just getting thousands and thousands of likes on their tweets at Chilled Chaos, Inverted X, these people who are coming out and posting these things, and they are just blowing up. Their tweets are just getting, hundreds of thousands of impressions and going on about, oh, this is this is what, you know, Power is doing. It's definitely using AI. And it's like, it's not though. It isn't. Now, you can criticize Palworld for a lot of things, and one of the things that people will criticize it for, that I've had people send to me, is, well, it's just a ripoff of Pokemon. They're clearly stealing Pokemon's designs. And it's like, yes, their designs are very, very clearly inspired by Pokemon, because they are not direct ripoffs, because if they were, and they were plagiarizing, or there was some kind of copyright infringement going on, this game would have never seen the release day, because there are many, many games out there who try to use Nintendo's IP and anything even close to that, and Nintendo's lawyers are very, very competent. They will find you if it starts to pick up any steam, and they will make sure that game never sees the light of day, at least not legally. For example, there was a really popular ROM that came out a couple of years ago. I think it was like Pokemon Nuclear or something like that, and had to do with fusions, or something along those lines, and that one got a cease and desist, and that game did get released on like torrents down the line, but I mean, they can't really prove who released it, even though it's obvious, but like the ROM was out there, you know. But the regardless is that Nintendo lawyers are going to find you if there's a problem with this, especially since Nintendo and Palworld are both Japanese developers. They more than likely had some talks with them at some point to make sure that what they were doing is okay, or they talked to their own lawyers and their lawyers figured that out for them. So when you go to plagiarism and copyright infringement, that's not an issue that Palworld's ever going to have to worry about, in my opinion, unless they do directly rip a model and put it into their game, which they have not done. A lot of people are using this tweet as an example of, wow, they stole the Meowth design. I don't know what Meowth this comes from. It's not my Meowth, okay? My Meowth does walk on 2 feet, but he is not this furry, nor does he have a black coin on his head. He has a gold one. Not my Meowth, but I think this is the design, I believe, maybe? This is the design in Palworld. See, and that's when it comes to like the difficulties of like deciphering this. If this is the Palworld world, and this is the Pokemon Meowth one, obviously there are similarities in this, but you know what they both are similar to? Cheshire the Cat, right? Don't they both look like Cheshire the Cat? Particularly this one, if this is the Palworld one, and this is like the Meowth, they got the big creepy smile and big eyes. Wow. Who would have thought that a cat creature from a folk story, you know, just old-timey story is going to look the same when everything is kind of getting based off of that, you know, that art style from there. It's not that surprising that cat creatures, 3D models in a video game about hunting monsters look somewhat like each other. Here are the quotes from the CEO, and this is why people are like, oh my god, it's using AI, because look at what their CEO says. And while I don't like what their CEO says, I'm not a huge fan of AI myself. He does go and talk about how he's excited for the future of AI, like maybe, you know, through AI, copyright stuff will be resolved. This is the AI and art imposter game that they did. It's like trying to figure out which one it is. And he's like, he's also even posted himself a comparison between a randomly generated AI picture of Pokemon and actual Pokemon. And so he says the AI has evolved so much that they can no longer tell which is which which one is Pokemon and which one is not. And this is cut off, but he does give an example of, well, here's some actual Pokemon and here's AI generated Pokemon images, and either one of them you would probably think are Pokemon. And when you think about it, Pokemon has had so many generations up until this point that there is over 1,000 Pokemon. So I'm sure even Nintendo, with their art, probably is more likely to use AI at this point than themselves, because they want to make something unique, but they have 1,000 unique different things that are all based on dogs, cats, birds, ice cream cones, garbage bags. You know, there's only so many things that they can make. They're, you know, eventually you run out of Japanese folklore, yokais, and animals to use. And then he had one last thing. He's like, I saw in a recent thing in a video, I had the same impression. To see the true power of an AI powered games on TCP4 this year. And it's like, listen, I understand. There's many people who are very, very much like AI, and they are like positive for AI. But it's very clear that, at least in Palworld, based on the evidence that's done from the trailer, based on how there is no post on Steam, based on how you can even just use other games as example, like, is Dragon Quest and Pokemon, are they AI generated, or is it just because they're monster games that you go and catch monsters and they have bats and they have caterpillars and they have fucking things with horns and they got, pincer type creatures and they got dinosaurs, clams. Wow, who would have thought it would have had clams? Ducks? You're telling me there's no way that there's a duck in Palworld, right? It's definitely not called Pluck either. Oh no, it's called fuck. But yeah, I think that the my opinion, based on the evidence that's provided, whoops, I hit stuff on my desk. The AI accusations when it comes to Palworld is absolutely blown out of the water and has no real supporting evidence to have any good claim that, oh, they are using AI, because there just isn't. There's no evidence. Like, you have to have it on Steam. You could see that the CEO likes it, but he doesn't say it's in there in that game. No developers have come out to say that they used it, but they're probably under NDA even if they were, and they'd probably get in pretty big legal trouble if they did leak that. But I think that if it was, it would be very easy to like find those files maybe in the game. Just some kind of data mining. Oh, there's also one more thing I actually forgot to add and throw in here, is that they actually had someone who had connection to the community manager through Palworld and asked them if they are using AI in their game, and they said no. The only time that they've used AI in any game was AI about identifying the imposter being AI. So they do not have a game, or Palworld is not that game that uses AI in any way. Now, I am going to provide links to all of the pictures that I show today, and I'm going to have them all in my description. If it's not on this video, it'll be like, because I'll be having this video go up in two places. It will be on YouTube and it will be on TikTok. If it's not in this TikTok video, like this version of TikTok, it will end up being in the other version of my YouTube, so you'll be able to grab the links there. If you ever come across somebody that's like, hey, it uses fucking AI, why are you playing that game? You should be canceling that game and not playing it. You can start linking them like these things. You can link them like, oh, yeah, this is what you're talking about, right? And this is what you're talking about, right? Well, here's the official trailer from 2021. Doesn't look like they're using AI before the AI existed. Here's the community manager. Here's another example. You're gonna say you're getting ripped off here. Like, there's just so many things you can point to. Even to find Steam's TOS about AI games. Basically, it all comes down to that the AI accusations for Palworld are bogus.